James McClean to give, and a tough watch. That emotion and that raw emotion from McClean will be repeated all over the place, and from many of the other Irish players. And Eamon, when you look at that, you know, he loves playing for his country. He's been one of the stars from an Irish point of view in this campaign. But it's just heartbreaking watching it tonight. It wasn't good enough.
No, it was a humiliation. And you know, in James McClean's case, you'd have to ask the question: where was he playing? James McClean's the left winger. He does all his damage. He's a great crosser of the ball. He does the damage out there. He didn't play there tonight. It's very sad to see someone like James reduced. He's heartbroken. His family are here. He's a fantastic person. And I don't think, as people, or as footballers, you can fault the players for effort. But there was a lot wrong out there tonight, and it was punished. First of all, we should say a fantastic performance by Eriksson. You know, to celebrate what's good in the game, and he showed it. You know, real quality, and we got punished for our errors. But we made a lot of errors. The team was wrong. The substitutions were drastically wrong. Taking off two midfield players, Meyler and Arthur, and putting on Shane Long. Wesley
and McGeady.
And McGeady, who's a winger. So there's no sense there. And you leave a big hole in front of your back four for him to exploit and all the others to exploit. The equalising goal they got, first goal, short corner. We send one player out. You should never do that. Even at a schoolboy level, junior level, you send two out. You don't leave somebody 2-on-1. Ball ends up at the back of the net. So we've had a right hiding, but it's been coming, Dara. We're not doing things right. That short corner, they say Martin O'Neill doesn't work on the training ground. Nobody knows, comes in an hour before kick-off and all of that stuff. And that's somehow regarded as a virtue. It's not. It's 50 years ago. You work on the training ground and you work on things like that.
But that, you said it yourself that it's that basic. Surely a player should have known.
No, exactly. I was going to make that point. Shane Duffy, someone should say, get out there. Don't leave him 1-on-1, 1-on-2. But all these things add up, and then you play a good side, and you get a hiding. But there's also the question of the substitutions. Like for like, if you can. Why didn't Wes Houlihan start the game? I mean, even the 45 minutes he was on the pitch, you know, he was in control, he was composed. He played Shane Long in 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. That's wrong. So I remember seeing Denmark beat us 4-1 here. It was Owen Hand's last game as manager in 1985, and it was as big a humiliation as that was tonight.
Well, that day, and you mentioned here when we were talking about it, we'd nothing to play for that day in 1985. This was 90 minutes away from the World Cup. Liam, give me your thoughts, having sat through that.
Well, first of all, James McClean, he was embarrassed by the Irish performance, and that's why he couldn't really respond to Tony, because he didn't have anything to hang his hat on. We were a ragged mess in the second half. Down to errors, as Eamon said. We shot ourselves in the foot. I think James was trying to say that at the beginning of the interview. We gave bad goals away, and Martin went all in his substitutions. By that I mean it was a huge gamble to bring McGeady on and to leave the midfield without two defensive players. Hendrick, I'm afraid, the last couple of games he's been anonymous, and Robbie Brady hasn't played well, and he left those two guys in there to handle a very confident Danish team, and of course they exploited that. And again, errors contributed to the humiliation. It's a really sad night because we've done very, very well to get to this stage, but we had a real chance after our result in Denmark. And then after the first 20 odd minutes, it looked very good, but we didn't control the game, and we don't have the players that he had on tonight to control the game. I think if Houlihan had been on there, he would have been able to settle the game down, to slow the game down by keeping the ball, by keeping possession. We didn't see that. We saw constant.
By doing to them when we were a goal in front, what they did to us when they were a goal in front.
Yeah, I suppose absolutely. Like, Didi, there was a point, I think George made it in commentary. He was saying after 23 minutes we had the lead goal, and then there were two other chances, Daryl Murphy and McClean just wide. Like, I mentioned as well all the stuff that happens in 90 minutes of football. In that moment you could be at least 2 or 3 up.
Yeah,
and then it all changes.
Yeah, it could. Then you have to take your chances. And of course, it's a different game when you're 2-0 up. They weren't brilliant chances. I would say half or 3/4 chances. I don't think both or either chance is a chance where you say he's got to do better or he's got to score. And with Kasper Schmeichel, they've got a very capable goalkeeper in there. And what disappointed me tonight, because James McClean said it's been a long qualifying campaign and they come through some very rough times and games, and winning away to Wales, they never gave themselves a chance to compete tonight, because even after they'd 1-0, Denmark took a foothold. They had 2 great chances before they even scored that equaliser, and they couldn't get near them. There were acres of space. They never controlled midfield. Playing 2 up top, I didn't really get at the start of the game, because I don't know when the last time was to play 2 up top. I don't think today was the time to be adventurous, because in a way he's always been pretty negative, Martin O'Neill, but it did get results. So why change it today? And against a technically very gifted side, you see, I think all 11 players been very good on the ball. And Tony said it in the interview, heart and character only get it that far. I think tonight this Irish team has been found out.
And Eamon, James McClean mentioned it, and look, we have to give him huge credit for agreeing to do the interview, because he was clearly hugely upset and very, very brave to do the thing in the first place, never mind being able to answer questions properly. But Eamon, he did mention something about the occasion. He suggested that maybe it was the occasion. Does that play into the individual errors? We did touch on this beforehand about the nerves, about what was at stake.
No, because it's the same for the Danish team. They're professional players. I think James was distraught. I think he cares so much. I think he's a very fine person, and he's shown it in other things, the controversies around the poppy and all of that. He's a person of great character, and he gives everything he's got. The question about James is he a centre forward? Is he someone that should play up alongside Murphy? Is he? No way.
But our top goal scorer, I think, in the campaign.
But he didn't score the goals playing centre forward. He scored the goal in Wales coming in, okay, but the one in Vienna, it was Wes who played him in to the left wing position. He came in and slotted it home. He isn't really, is he?
No, well, coming back to the occasion, I think we can talk about the formation all we want. I think apart from Christie, nobody performed tonight. I think he's probably the only one I would take out that criticism. I think the other 10 players didn't perform. Randolph, maybe, I don't think he could have done anything for the goals. The other 9 outfield players were way below average. And when you have 8 or 9 players not performing, it's very hard to win football matches. And maybe the occasion did get to them, because one thing Ireland, or the biggest strength of this Irish team, they didn't give you chances. They didn't give you many chances, and if you had 2 or 3 chances, you had to take one, because they were very solid at the back and they didn't make mistakes. Denmark didn't have to work for their goals today.
They were 2 goals in 3 minutes. 2 goals in 3 minutes, and after that, the game was up, Dara. But we did make elementary mistakes, as Eamon's going to show you, and has already talked about it. You shouldn't leave 2 against 1 over there, and Sisto beat Arthur quite easily. And the second goal, Ward, instead of getting rid of the ball or looking for a foul or something like that. So 2 mistakes like that absolutely take the legs from underneath you. And then Martin, as I say, made a huge gamble by taking off 2 defensive midfield players and substituting him with 2 attacking players, and they just ran amok after that.
Yeah, and Eriksson ran amok in chief for sure. Let's look, guys, at if you could bear it, talk us through these Danish goals. And Eamon, you're gonna go off the first one here.
Yeah, a short corner like that. There's one green shirt. You've got to have 2 people out there. It's basic. Going out now, it's Hendrik, but it's too late. Harry Arter's in an unaccustomed midfield player, 1-on-1. Sisto nutmegs him, and it's in the net via Christie. It's an own goal. Now, somebody should have told Hendrik to get out way before he did. It's too late now. And then he doesn't give Harry Arter cover. He actually goes and chases a player who's not going to be a danger at all. That's bad organisation, and it's down to the players to some extent, but it's also down to the coach, manager, whatever you want to call them. Now, we have a guy up the road, Michael O'Neill, coaching Northern Ireland. You'll never see a Northern Ireland team a shambles like that. The only reason they're not going, they got a bad penalty decision in Belfast, and they went and played in Switzerland and were really good. You have to place a lot of the blame for this at Martin O'Neill's door, in my opinion.
Liam, despite mistakes by players?
I wouldn't. I think that's too harsh. I would say I didn't agree with the team he picked. I thought Long should have been in the team because of his pace, and I thought Wesley Houlihan should have been in the team because it's a night for composure, and it's a night for him to make the other players and give them confidence around them. When he brought Wesley on, we were in a real difficult position. But tonight I wouldn't blame Martin O'Neill on the errors that Ward made, for example. Like, Ward is bad for the second goal there, very bad for the second goal, and he's bad for the fourth goal. It's gift. I know the fourth goal, the third, fourth goal, maybe fifth goal, when it comes, their heads are muddled. They don't want to be out there. They know they're just playing out time, and the game is. And as I say, they were a ragged mess. But those goals could have been avoided, and I wouldn't blame that on Martin O'Neill.
Sure. And even the psychology, Didi, of conceding that equalising goal, and we concede again so quickly afterwards that we'd gone through this group and it had been so good defensively for such a long time. Then they concede that, and it was like the house of cards from there on in.
Yeah, after the first goal, you've got to score again, and after the second one, you need to score two more. And of course, psychologically, it's not an easy situation, but I think they had some tough times throughout the qualifying group and before that. But this is just a poor goal. This is what we didn't see. Ward tries to take Paulsen on for no reason. They're 2v3 at the back. They're working well. Paulsen plays a very good ball in the middle. Jürgens played the first time. And then Eriksson, he's an artist on a football pitch. He's a wonderful player to watch. He's got great vision. He's got great skill. And he places the ball and he comes off the underside of the crossbar, and then you're up against it, because the way the game was going, you probably always felt they're going to score a third one, and then you need to score 2 or 3. And what I didn't understand then at half time, when he takes the 2 centre midfield off, because I said at half time, for 20-25 minutes you don't need to chase the game, don't take a chance, because the third goal finishes the game off. And you've got to leave somebody there to look after Eriksson. He had acres of space in the second half, he could play it well, and after the third goal, obviously the game was finished, and I expected a bit more nous about the game, a bit more tactical nous
from the manager.
From the manager and the players as well, because Hendrik had a lot of defensive responsibility. He must have known, my 2 partners are gone. He brings McGeady and Houlihan, he brings 2 offensive
position, did he? They're not players to play that position.
Then he's got to take somebody else and leave somebody else on there.
Not defensive midfield players.
The second half, they didn't give themselves a chance, and that was a disappointing thing for me. And hence, the last 10 minutes, they probably couldn't wait to get out of the stadium.
Well, who else, guys, could he have? Let's say we wanted Wes Houlihan to come on at half time. McGeady came on. Like, who else could have come on in a position where we're taking Meyler off?
No, well, McGeady shouldn't have come on.
Well, who should have come on instead of McGeady?
Well, nobody. Or you could put Long on instead of Murphy. But what we're saying is you shouldn't go all in. Didi's absolutely right. The first 20-25 minutes, you play yourself back into the game. You don't give anything away. You hopefully you get something with Houlihan, creating somebody.
Meyler is the anchor midfield player. Leave Meyler on.
Leave Meyler on. Don't bring McGeady. Don't bring McGeady on.
No, and put
that's what I
mean.
He went all in with his gamble, with his money. He went, I'm back in the, and it backfired.
And there's the thing, because he has been accused of being at times too pragmatic, too conservative, and he goes, as you say, all in this evening.
Especially with a player like Eriksson in their team.
Why did that happen then?
Well, it's a mistake made by the manager. It's just a mistake, and David Meyler had done nothing to deserve to come off. You need an anchor in that area where Eriksson operates, and Meyler was on the bench for most of the campaign. He then appeared in the team as captain against Moldova.
I think the third goal. I think their stories as a positive. I think their third goal shows vividly what we're talking about.
Okay,
to make your points.
Now, at this stage, they're a goal in front. remember, we were a goal in front. But watch what they do with the ball. They stroke it around and they make us work like dogs. And they pull us around the park. And this is where the holes appear. There's Eriksson on the ball, and that's in the back of the net. Now, David Meyler would have been occupying that screening holes in front of the back four. There's no one in front of the back four. They're outnumbered 3-1, and it's in the back of the net. That's what they did when they were ahead, and that's what we should have been doing when we were one ahead. But the player who could do it is Wes Houlihan, who could lead the orchestra. And you need somebody like that.
And this is 62 minutes. We saw a game here against Austria where they've been outplayed for 80 minutes. Walters gets the equaliser, and in the last minute they could or should have won it with a header of Duffy, which was disallowed. So even in the last 5-10 minutes, if it's 2-1, you still got a chance because you score a goal of a set piece, and after 62 minutes, the tie is over. And this is where I think the management and the players and the team, they let themselves down. Because this is a situation. One thing I'm mad about this team and about the whole setup, they don't show any mental weaknesses. If they haven't got the technical ability to pass the ball, not a problem. You've got to play to their strength. But what they didn't do is show mental weakness or make mental mistakes. And this, I felt, was just a basic mental mistake where they tried to chase something far too early. With half an hour to go, you need 2 goals. You know, we've seen the most outrageous things on football pitches. So this was not a time at half time to really gamble and go all in.
All right, guys.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on. Just make your point. We're going to go for a break. Go ahead.
No, go for a break.
The end of that interview with a very passionate Martin O'Neill with Tony O'Donoghue. And Eamon, just to, I suppose there's many points that Martin made there, but one of them that jumps out at you is, you know, we were in a playoff for the World Cup. Sure, we got well beaten this evening, but we started out this campaign as 4th seeds, and a lot of positive things have happened. Sure, some negative things also. Yeah,
I think so. I think at this moment, they were tough questions to ask. I think Martin O'Neill can rightly point to outstanding performances in Wales, outstanding result.
Austria,
outstanding winning, getting a draw. Serbia, who went on to win the group. I think this is not the time. And even myself, I hesitate to blame Martin O'Neill. This is the time. Perhaps in a face-to-face interview like that, it's hard. And I think we have to, feel for the players as well. We saw the state of James McClean. Yeah. And they're hurt and they're hurting. But there is a job of analysis to be done. And people will be doing it in the buses, in the cars on the way home, or in the boozers if they're lucky. Sorry about the drink ad. But people, that's what sport is.
Absolutely.
And this has been a spectacularly disappointing night for Irish soccer fans.
Liam, we kept you waiting. You were going to make a point before the commercial break.
The point I was going to make, we conceded another 2 goals after we went 3-1 behind, and by then our spirit had been broken and our brains were scrambled. We were making mistakes. We made 2 mistakes for the last 2 goals, Ward and then McClean pulling Bentner down for the penalty. And I don't think you need to analyse those things because the game was up by then, and I can understand Martin O'Neill putting up a brave defence of his tenure in charge of the team. We are up against it. We're usually up against it. We haven't got a great squad of players. Just look at the situation we have up front with Shane Long. He hasn't scored for over a year. Murphy is 34 years of age. He's playing in the Championship. That's the selection problem he has. So it really is difficult, and we've really done well to get to this stage. But we did shoot ourselves in the foot tonight. The Danes looked class above us in the end, but we made them look like that by giving up the goals we did. Yeah.
Let's just finish off Eriksson's hat-trick. And you used the phrase, Eamon, talking about him earlier, a world-class player. We ran into a player at the top of his game this evening, and wonderful goal.
It's a great finish, it's a great finish, but it's down to a very basic error by Stephen Ward. He said there was not many lads that come out with any credit tonight, but this is when you're dispirited. This is when your head is all over the place. But it still needed finishing, and this fella can't finish. Left or right foot. He's one of the best 2-footed players around at the moment. And as it comes out to him, bang, top corner again. Clinical, absolutely clinical. He's a great player, and probably a player that's worthy of going to Russia.
Yeah, okay. Well, Liam, there's a couple of names I just want to throw into the mix and get the views of all three of you on it. In terms of, you go back to looking back on the campaign and the loss on a night like tonight of somebody like Seamus Coleman and of somebody like Jonathan Walters, two players who are, we talk about leaders, they are leaders. And there were so many things that happened in that game tonight, particularly middle of the first half, where it slipped away from us. And, maybe they would have come into their own in that situation. Yeah, we never know, ultimately.
Yeah, we never know. But they are two very experienced players, and players who have delivered for Ireland time and time again. But, these things happen in a campaign. You're going to get injuries, you're going to get suspensions. Again, I'll go back to it was all down to our own errors tonight, and it's a hard one to take, but I think if we show our goal again, the start we got off to, and then the two chances we had, as Martin O'Neill said, it could have been very different. Could have been absolutely different.
Yeah, I mean, you get what you deserve in the end, in everything, and football's no exception. Seamus Coleman is a leader, and he would be missed by any team. And John Walters is a fantastic lad. Always a goal in him, and you do miss players like that. But every country has, injured players and misfortune along the way. I mean, reflecting on the whole campaign, we were in a tough group, I think, relatively speaking. Serbia, Wales, Austria, who Didi tipped to win the Euros last time out, and so that was a really relatively tough group. I think the difficulty about is the way we went about it, the style of football. Even in Wales, where we got a great result, it was very, very primitive stuff. Lumping it. No one's playing football like that anymore. And that's my problem, and that's a problem I think that has to be a question that has to be asked. Why do you have to play that way? Why can you not play a guy like Wes Hoolahan? I read the stats out before. We're much more likely to win when he's and score when he's on the pitch. So that's the issue.
Didi, how do you think Martin O'Neill would answer that question? Would it be this is the players I have, the group I have? Give me your views on it.
Yeah, if you look at the technical ability 1 to 11 from the Danish team, I think all very comfortable on the ball. And you just haven't got that, and I don't think there's hardly, we touched on that at an earlier game, there's hardly any belief, as much belief as they have defending together, as little belief they have playing, because what you want, the person who got the ball, he needs options. You need players showing for the ball. If nobody's showing, what are you going to do? Something happens like Ward did, he tries to take Pausen and loses the ball, and eventually finishes a tie off with that second goal. So you need options to play to, and if you haven't got options, you've got to hoof it long.
I think that's a big question.
Yeah. People don't show for the ball.
All these guys, and we talked about it on Saturday night. All these guys, when they're playing for the club sides, they're comfortable on the ball. They stop the ball. They take their time. They pass it to one another. And yet, when the last two games, whether it was in Wales or whether it was in Copenhagen on Saturday night, the ball was like a hot potato. Nobody wanted it. Don't give, and that's what I agree with Eamon. What's disappointing about Martin's tenure as manager, after the Euros, I thought he really had a platform to build on, because we played in that last match against France. We gave them a real fright by playing football.
But it's a different game, Liam, isn't it? It's a different game. You play against a team where you sit back, and obviously they are the favourites, you're the underdogs.
Yeah, but we kept the ball. We kept the ball. We passed the ball to one another.
When they have to take the game to opposition, when Georgia comes here, Moldova, when they play teams who sit back, they just haven't got the tools to break them down.
Well, I know. I highlighted the fact of our strikers. I do agree with you to a certain point, but the way we go about trying to winning, I think, is very disappointing.
Well, it is, but I think what you need, if you want to play football, you need players who attract 2 or 3 players. So there's one free on other parts of the pitch. Apart from Hoolahan, they haven't got one player, and you see
the point
Eriksson.
I'm making is Arthur and Brady and Hendrick, and they don't play like that when they play for the club team.
Well, I think they probably play with better players when they play for the clubs. That's a point I would make.
Well, I saw Harry Arthur a lot playing for Bournemouth, for Eddie Howe, and he's fearless in terms of getting on the ball. He wants to play. He passes the ball. I've seen him play 6 games this year. He's a different pulls on the green shirt, and on Saturday night he was kicking the ball up in the air, didn't know what he was doing. Even drove Martin O'Neill mad, because he went out and had a go at him near the end. Now, something happens, and this is where a leader, a coach, assures players, no one's going to have a go at you if you're passing and you're trying to play. You're not going to get, slapped for making a mistake. Don't be afraid to play your football. And it's not in our culture. And the real thing tonight that's sad, Dara, is that we don't have any players coming through to replace some of the players who are there. For example, Darren Murphy's 34.
Well, look at Wes, John
Wesley's
Walters,
35.
John O'Shea.
Yeah.
This is a kind of a nice, and it'll happen, it won't happen tonight, but beyond a sort of a changing of the guard. But, I suppose, look, people will talk about the under-21s are second in their group. OK, they lost to Norway today. But, the talent coming through, in that squad this evening, one player is under the age of 25.
No, if we had talent coming through, we would have heard about them by now, in whether it was in the Championship or whether it was in the Premier League. If you're a really top class player, you can be playing at 18, 19. The kid Christensen playing for Denmark tonight is in the Chelsea team. He's 19, 20. We don't have anyone with that, and it's for another day.
Indeed, it is, and we're going to have to start.
But
there are plans in place.
It is very scary.
Sure, okay.